Hi, I'm Nicholas McGurr, author of The Afterlife and host for Stories in a Cemetery. You can find all my fiction works with themes of the afterlife on nicholasmcgurr.com. That's NICHOLASMCGIRR.com. As a writer, I do research, and that research is more than likely inside a haunted location or a cemetery. Like you, I'm curious about the afterlife, and always looking for a new topic for my next book. I hope you enjoy this episode of my research as much as I did in using it for my fiction works. Let's get into today's story in the cemetery. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 30. This is a milestone for me, so welcome aboard if this is your first time listening to Stories in a Cemetery. I greatly appreciate you jumping on. If this is your 30th episode, you are definitely appreciated as well. So, guys, this is a big episode. I love this topic. We're going to be talking about spirit boxes, and we are going to discuss some of the skepticism behind it, the different types, the apps that we use, those kind of things. And if you're new to spirit boxes, this is going to be a lot of information for you. Hopefully it doesn't overwhelm you, but I just wanted to thank those that have been listening to the past 8 episodes that came up on the podcast or whatever podcatcher you're using, where I actually narrated my novelette, The Life Tree. I hope you enjoyed it, and for those of you that did listen, there was quite a few of you. I was quite surprised, but during this pandemic, and you guys are pretty much stuck at home, and not even stuck at home, like I wish I was stuck at home. I've actually been out driving for Uber Eats, making ends meet while tourism is down here in Charleston. And of course, if you're looking to make a few bucks, I will post my Uber code so we can both make a few dollars extra on the side, and that'll be in the show notes. But again, thank you to those that listen to me narrate The Life Tree. By no means am I a narrator or a professional actor that's going to act out a book for an audiobook or anything like that. I haven't been formally trained. I'm sure you heard me stutter just like I just did. But again, I wanted to thank you. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you did give it a listen and you're an Amazon user, I would love your rating and review on Amazon. That would be amazing. It wasn't really the reason why I did it. I obviously just wanted to give you guys something else extra to listen to, and hopefully it was some entertainment for you. But again, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me that you are also interested in my actual writing work and not just the podcast. Guys, tours are still on hold. Stories in a Cemetery, the ghost hunting experience is on hold still, as Charleston is still on pretty much a lockdown. But I talked with Brian McFarland, my partner in tourism, this morning, and we will be reopening the tours the same day that Charleston decides that they're going to open up the city. We debated if we were going to hold off until June just to play it safe, but I feel healthy and I feel like people are going to need things to do once they get out and about, because let's face it, things are going to be opening back up for us slowly, and not all things are going to be available. So if you were interested in taking one of my ghost hunting experience tours, by all means, head over to my website. Look for those tickets and the links to get to it, but you can always search for Stories in a Cemetery on Groupon. It's usually where you can get the best deals. You can buy vouchers now at a cheaper price, and you can use the vouchers later for when the city opens back up. So I can't wait to get back out on the streets again and start ghost hunting with you guys. Ubering has been fun, but it's not really my bag. I just do it to be able to contribute back to my community here in Charleston. Ratings and reviews, guys, thank you so much. I finally can see the iTunes ratings, and I can see some of you have given Stories in a Cemetery a 5-star review, so that is greatly appreciated. And right now I think I'm up to a 4.5 rating, which somebody gave me a 2-star rating. I understand this stuff isn't for everybody, and who knows, maybe my voice just annoyed them, who knows. But at any rate, guys, thank you so much for those ratings. Keep them coming. You can rate Stories in a Cemetery on iTunes, Anchor, which is my host, and you can leave me a ghost story if you'd like, and I'll post it right here on the show. Castbox, and Stitcher. So if you're listening through any of those podcatchers, go back, log in, and hit that 5-star review and leave me a few comments. I'll read it right here on the show. So thanks for that. Buy me a coffee. I know I talk about this with every episode, but it is my Patreon. This is how I sponsor the show, and it tells me that you guys want me to continue, and it helps move things along, just like the ads that you hear for the show. So, guys, Buy Me a Coffee right now is waiving all fees on my end. So every time a new contributor comes on, I have to pay a fee from what they have contributed. And right now, Buy Me a Coffee is waiving all of those fees. So if you really wanted to help out the show and keep it going, it's just $1 in a coffee pot. You get access to all of those bonus episodes about The Secret that I discuss about Byron Price's book. And you're supporting the show, helping me to keep it going. Guys, I can't thank you guys enough for all of the contributions I've received so far. And of course, I want to keep things going, and I'm looking to expand my ghost hunting kit, and really can't do that with just the Uber funds coming in. I need your help with that. So head over to buymeacoffee.com, drop a buck in a coffee pot. It's not a subscription. It's not a monthly bill every time I post an episode. It's just $1. Toss it in there. Granted, money's tight, but bonus episodes. So I wanted to talk about this for a second. So on the bonus episodes on Buy Me a Coffee, I do post interviews and discussions with Brian McFarland, my tourism partner, and he has been part of my secret treasure hunt right here in Charleston. And there's really no other way to put that. It's a secret treasure. It's a cask in the ground that leads you to a jewel. If you're unfamiliar with this, go back to episode number 16 and take a listen to the initial start of our I keep wanting to say ghost hunts, but it's a treasure hunt adventure. And right now I've been sworn to secrecy to not discuss or disclose any other information about my research, I guess is the word. So some of you came from the Facebook group of The Secret Podcast, and I've been trying to remain as vague as possible, but just know that we are well on our way, and we're just basically waiting for the city of Charleston to open back up, and there'll be lots and lots of news. So even if I'm wrong, I will post if I'm wrong, and we will discuss this further. So guys, let's get into some spirit boxes. I think that's all of my my extra show notes. The spirit boxes, I think, are a little bit more important right now. Why you tuned in. So let me go to my notes here about spirit boxes in the blog post. So, of course, if you don't already know, you can head over to nicholasmcgurr.com. McGurr is spelled McGirr.com. And you can always read my full blog post of where I get all the notes for this podcast. So you can hear the bonus audio. There's some extra links in there. There's always pictures and things that I attach to the podcast. So make sure you head over to the website as well. My entire website is dedicated to my works, my published fiction works, and all of the stuff that you hear on the podcast. So it's all about spiritual and paranormal stuff and the investigations that I go on, the tour audio for my tours, those kind of things. So anyway, spirit boxes. So what are they? This is an interesting topic. I love spirit boxes. So spirit boxes, in a nutshell, are just radio scanners. What they do is they usually have a sweep button on them, and you can sweep through FM or AM radio stations. What this allows the spirit world to do is to manipulate that sweep rate and either pause it for a second or talk over the white noise of static that comes on the FM or AM frequency that doesn't have a radio station behind it. So those are what I call disembodied voices because they're not actually speaking through the DJ or through any kind of song lyric. Now, there's a lot of skeptics out there that say, Nick, are you really listening for DJs and song lyrics? Yes, I am. What I tell my guests is that the spirit box kind of acts like Bumblebee from the movie Transformers. And what I mean by that is Bumblebee actually talks through the radio. He doesn't have an actual voice. So the spirit world can manipulate the electronic device by giving us words from a DJ or a song lyric or something that's relative to wherever we are standing or whatever location we're investigating. That's my belief. If the sweep rate, because it's usually pretty fast, I set it pretty quickly so that it's not something that can pause and we'll hear words and phrases and full lines from a song. It's being swept through pretty quickly. So if it pauses for just a moment for us to hear a full word or a phrase, that's a big deal. That means that we were meant to hear that word or a phrase. So what I do, I use a specific spirit box for my tours. It's called the SB7. And on my first tour, somebody broke off the external speaker. Like I had a little 3mm speaker attached to it, and somebody broke it off. So what that did for my tour was I had to now ask the guest to use it a little bit closer to their ear, because we are outside. Like I said in previous podcasts, I don't take any of my guests inside of a building, and we're outside, and we're not all going to be able to listen to it or stand near it. So what I ask the guests to do is once they hear something, they need to shout out whatever they heard, whether it was from a DJ, a song lyric, or any kind of disembodied voice, and identify it as such. So what they'll say is, this DJ just said BMW, and I already know that that doesn't mean anything because BMW is not related to the site that we're at. Or they might say, I heard something, but I'm not sure what it said. That's usually a disembodied voice. Or it came through too quickly. That's another disembodied voice. That's what we take it as. And then I go back to the audio from the voice recorder, and I'll see if I can hear any of that static to see if they were able to make out anything if I was close enough to them. If I'm close enough, then I'll be able to pick something up. But a lot of times, like, I usually have that person kind of separate from me, so that way I can use the Spirit Box apps on my phone, which can be picked up by the voice recorder. So going back to manual devices, I am going to be adding another Spirit Box to my toolkit, and that's called the S-Box. The cool thing about this guy is it claims to have a speaker in it that's loud enough to be heard, which would be great since I take my tours outdoors. And that way I can pair people up and see how they hear things, see what they hear. The other cool thing is that if you use an SD card, it'll actually record any EVPs. Now, the difference between the Spirit Box voices and an EVP is an EVP is something we can't hear audibly with our own human ears. We need an electronic device to hear it. That's the cool thing about that. So it'll actually serve two purposes, especially if I'm having that person on the tour separate from me. Now, I'm going to be adding this device hopefully in the near future, and I will do an unboxing of it. So just make sure you follow me on social media so that you can see how I'm going to use this. But let's talk about the apps for a second. And the apps that I use, and a lot of people kind of chuckle when I pull out these apps on the tours or I talk about them on, the other investigations that I've done. But these apps come in really handy for me. First off, if I'm on another tour, learning about the history of a location or, anything like that, I put a specific Spirit Box app running in the background of my phone, and that app is called Ghost Detector. Super corny, super cheesy. You guys have heard me talk about this before. It's where it actually gives me words in the middle of the screen, and it saves those words in a list. So the cool thing is that it also puts a timestamp on each specific word. So if I'm using this on a tour with a bunch of guests, then we can actually match up the audio, in case we missed the word that came through, with where we were at on the tour. That's the super cool thing about it. I love the fact that it gives me all those words, and it's the app is meant to be a game and a hoax, and I've talked about this in the past. But I would say, honestly, about 25 to 60% of the words that come through are legit. And if those words come through and it matches up to the location that we're at, then to me, it's working. I take most of it, 40 to 75% of those words, they're just random. It's coming from the app itself. And I did buy the upgraded version where it actually has 9,000 words in its vocabulary. Sorry about the rattling in the background. Claudia and Lewis, my parakeets here in my office, are making a lot of noise. So my apologies for that. So getting back to the apps that I use, the other one that I use, this one's super cool. I just started using this, I'd say about 2 months ago. This app is called Paranormal Hauntings by Brian Holloway. Now, what this guy does is it actually plays the radio frequencies in reverse. So it's giving us complete gibberish. Complete gibberish. It's really hard to make out. So when we hear something from this particular Spirit Box, we were definitely meant to hear it. And it is distinctive of not being played in reverse. Now, I'm going to play this sound clip for you real quick, and you guys tell me what you think.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's going crazy.
Eliza. Eliza, did you hear that?
Yes. Did you hear that, John? Eliza.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's really exciting. Guys, if you didn't hear the name Eliza come through on that, go back and listen to it again. Hit that 30-second or 10-second rewind button and listen to it again. If you want to listen to it repeatedly, go to my website. It's on the blog post. The audio is up there. Now, same session, same guests. It was pretty active at the Pinckney Mansion site. That's where that occurred. I was asking Eliza to tell us her name, and we got Eliza to come through. Now, we didn't get much activity, even though the EMF detector was going off and the other spirit box was giving us random words, the manual SB7. So when we left, I told Eliza goodbye, and this is what we got. All right, Eliza, I actually got to move these folks on. Do you want us to leave or do you want us to stay?
Yes.
Okay, Eliza, I don't have another tour for a few days. I will see you soon, so goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Guys, this is the type of evidence that gets me super excited. Super excited. I have had other sessions, and I was going to put it on the podcast here, but it was a little rough to hear. Same tour, same guest that I had, and we were at the Wagner building. And if you want to hear that story, of course, that is I can't remember which episode it was, but it's another podcast episode where we actually had a full conversation for a good 15 to 20 minutes. Now, the bad thing about the Wagner building and the evidence that I caught there, at least in person, was that the audio, I had too much traffic in the background. You couldn't really hear the reverse spirit box, and you can't really hear our voices because it was a pretty busy night. It was probably a Saturday. And my apologies for not being able to post that, but if you want to go back and listen to it, it is on the tour audio page labeled 2920 John Tina. So if you want to go back and listen to that for yourself, you can. I'll put a link in the show notes, of course, but just head over to my website, nicholasmcgurr.com. You can hear any of my tours. They're all posted there. So, super cool evidence that I just posted to you, and that's just some of the stuff. That one was very distinctive for me, where I don't have to try to put clues together. I know the Pinckney Mansion site is where Eliza Pinckney lived. So that specific word coming through, and then that specific intelligent response coming back of goodbye was huge for me. That was wow, and I had people there to validate that. So I want to thank John and Tina for coming on that tour and helping me gather that evidence. That was a big help. So guys, let's talk about the non-believers for a second. A lot of people think that white noise, there's some scientific term where the human ear is going to hear what the human ear is going to expect. So if we're on a paranormal investigation and we're listening to a spirit box, then it is said that the investigator is actually going to hear paranormal terms. I don't always find that to be true. There are some things that come through where I'm just like, what? Like I talked about BMW earlier, and I say that because that was probably part of a commercial, and it's just something that stuck out in my head. Now, I'm not waiting for anything. Now, granted, if we were at if it said BMW and we were at a more modern location where somebody may have worked at a BMW plant or drove a BMW and loved it, that would make more sense. But BMW is not exactly a paranormal term. It's a vehicle. It's a random vehicle. It's a common vehicle. It's not something that we would have been listening for. What I tell my guests is, again, if you're using the SB7 manual spirit box, tell us whatever you hear. We'll see if it matches up to a clue or anything that's intelligent in response. These are big deals for the tour, and they get us excited. And we're not just listening to it just to listen to it. So if we're walking, there's a break in my tour where we have to walk about 2 blocks. I tell my folks, guys, the EMF's going to go off because of the crosswalk lines underneath the street, and you're going to hear random stuff on the spirit box because it's just going to stop from time to time, maybe. You might as well not even listen to it. If you do hear something, it's going to be nothing. I'm not even going to pay attention to it. Guys, there are so many non-believers out there that they have done studies on why we study the way that we do and why we use the gadgets that we do. I'm adding more spirit boxes to my tours, to my personal investigations. There's going to be a link on the blog post that actually has a full study of the skepticism of the spirit box and why listening to white noise will only bring us white noise in our head and giving us that perception that we are searching and hearing what we want to hear. I applaud the amount of research that these folks put into it. But again, we're exploring things that are unknown, which means we have to use unknown type gadgets and meters and those kind of things that we can't see. Voice recorders to hear things that we can't hear. EMF meters to gauge what we can't see if there's a change. That's why we do this. We have to measure the unknown with odd gadgets. I'm adding other gadgets to my toolkit, which I'll talk about later. But guys, the skepticism, I welcome it on my tours. I look for the skeptic. I want to prove them wrong. I can't wait to show them how the EMF meter lights up like a Christmas tree, or that they hear something on a spirit box. That look on their face is priceless. When I hear something, the look on my face, I'm sure, is priceless. Nobody ever videotapes me. So you guys may see it someday. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a camera follow me around and I'll start a YouTube channel. But at any rate, guys, I truly believe in the spirit box. And as far as the spirit box apps, I believe that the spirit world can manipulate any electronic device. We just have to have the right tool and gadget to catch that evidence. Whether it's an app that is meant to be a game or a hoax, or a reverse spirit box that's going to give us clear human voice amongst reverse human voices. It's up to us to determine what's real and what's not. One day we will have answers. That's the goal. I need more answers about what's on the other side without actually having to go there. We need that kind of scientific evidence. Guys, leave me comments at the bottom of the blog post, or of course you can send me comments through any of those podcatchers that you're using. I would love to hear what your thoughts are, especially on when I put in the bonus audio of things like this. I think it was episode 2 where I put in the psychics extra bonus audio. So go back and listen to episode 2 as well if you haven't listened to it in a while. But I love when I catch things on audio that I truly can't explain, or that I can explain. So it's either way, I'm all over it. The 2 samples that I gave you for this podcast episode, I love this stuff. It was easy to interpret. Tell me what you think. Come take a tour with me. Of course, there's always a link at the bottom of the blog if you want to get yourself some tickets or check out Groupon. But guys, if you're using different spirit boxes, or you have a different spirit box app that you like to use, that you've caught some evidence on, let me know in the comments. Shoot me an email. Do whatever you guys have to do. Guys, this has been a great episode. Check out some of those spirit box apps if you don't have $60 to $90 to drop on a manual one. And let me know what you're catching. I can't wait to hear your ghost stories. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks so much for listening to today's Story in the Cemetery. Be sure to check out the show notes with pictures and bonus audio sections on nicholasmcgurr.com. As you know, I'm a writer, and now you have another story that inspires me to write my fiction works. Be sure to share this episode on your social media, or leave me comments on the Stories in the Cemetery Facebook page. I'll see you next time with another Story in the Cemetery.